The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations. That's forming a...
Good afternoon. This is Lowe's Moore, and welcome to the Blueprint. This is our special edition. This is our Super Bowl edition of the Blueprint. I thought about it as we were coming up on that date for the Super Bowl. I was like, oh man, I don't want to invite a guest. The Super Bowl is on. We're on at 7:00. That's just not going to work with the Super Bowl. I mean, I want to watch the Super Bowl, and I'm sure everybody wants to watch the Super Bowl. And so we decided to do this special edition, this early afternoon edition of the Blueprint. And hopefully it works. Hopefully some the supporters that have been supporting the Blueprint for these last 36 episodes. It's just been awesome. You guys have been amazing. And I thank you for your support. This has just been beyond my thought, beyond my imagination of how I thought this podcast would go. Let me say this. When I first thought about it, I was thinking like I was just going to go on Facebook, me and another person. And I was talking to a person who experienced at doing podcast, and he said, no, you can't do that, man. You got to get mics, you got to get cameras, you got to get background stuff, and you got to get lights. And I was like, what? Hold on, time out. I was just thinking about, I've seen so many people on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, just a couple of people talking, and it turned out to be a real project, and it was good because during this pandemic and during these social justice issues, during that time, it gave me something to occupy my mind, because I had what I consider is an unusual retirement. I retired in March of last year, 2020, and from the Boys and Girls Club, which I was an executive director of the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon, New York, for over 27 years, a club I grew up in, along with my good friend and partner, Denzel Washington, and many of my other friends, JB Smooth and Leon and all these other guys. So, it's just been an incredible ride. We hope that the Blueprint has played a powerful part in occupying your mind. I mean, because if you can't occupy your mind goes anywhere, then all kind of negative things come into play, and particularly what we were experiencing. So you have to have some positive things. You have to have some inspirational things, some motivational things that you could hear, listen to, see while you're going through trauma or issues. And so we hope that we have been a blessing. And like every week, I have my little basketball here, which I call my pebble in a pond. They say when you drop a pebble, like I just did, I dropped a pebble in a pond, and I'm expecting a ripple effect. With all of these shows, I believe that we are receiving a ripple effect. Somebody's been blessed by this. Somebody looked at the Blueprint and said, look, I'm going to work on my vision. I'm going to work on my plan, even though I'm in the midst of a pandemic, right? I'm going to go forward, right? And so whenever we come out of this, we've already prepared, right? And so again, thank you. And again, welcome. So many people with the Super Bowl. I don't know who you're going for, but I'm a little up in age, right? And my mindset is always for winners, right? Not stopping winning. Like I was very disappointed back in the day when Notre Dame broke UCLA's 88 winning streak, the 88 straight games, and Notre Dame knocked off UCLA. I wanted to see UCLA go for 100. Whenever somebody gets on a roll, I'm that kind of player. I like winning, so I don't, when you're winning, I don't hate you for winning, right? I want you to keep winning. If you can create a dynasty and you can win 4, 5, 6 in a row, hey, I'm your guy, right? I want to see you put that record out there so far that nobody can catch it. If they do, it would be amazing, right? And I know there's a new kid, Patrick Mahomes, a new kid on the block, right? He's a new kid, and I love him too, but Tom Brady is about to do something very special. I like his leadership, man. I like that he was bold enough and took the risk to leave New England and then get on another team and then lead them to a championship too. I like to see him go for 7, 8, 9, 10, championships, man. And then, he's more close to my age than Patrick Mahomes. So when you got a guy, man, who's in his 40s and he's still balling, right? Man, I like that excellence. So, that's my take on it. I know everybody's going for Kansas City, but I'm going for the old guy. He's not really old, right? Because really 40 is not old, man. I was still dunking the ball at 45, man. Then it went downhill after that. But that was my last dunking when I was 45 years old, and I was still balling at a high level, right? I always say, I'm going to give up the game when I'm no longer relevant on the court, right? But every time I stepped on the court, even till I was 60, I was relevant, right? And you had to guard me or you're going to get embarrassed. So, I'm for the old guy. So, so again, thank you. Let's get right into this thing, man. And I want to start out with the book of the week, right? The book of the week is The Secondary Break, an NBA dad story by my guest today. I'm going to introduce him in a minute. By my guest today, Marvin Williams Sr., right? An NBA dad. So we're going to get to him in a few minutes, but that's our book of the week. You can pick it up. I picked up a copy. I went online and picked up my copy earlier this week. Can't wait to jump into it. And we're going to hear a little bit about that today, but you're not going to get it all today. So you might as well support this dad, support Marvin Williams Sr., because he's trying to do something special. And this week's word of the week is longevity. And that, I think his son, Marvin Williams Jr., right? I think he's played 14 or 15 years in the NBA. I know we want longevity. We want good health, sound mind, right? And we want to live a long time, right? I want to be able to run and jump and do all those things, man, as I get later in my age, up there in those numbers. I just want to keep going. I want longevity, just like Tom Brady, longevity, winning. And we hope the same thing for Patrick Mahomes too. We want to see Patrick Mahomes win 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And on. Longevity is very powerful, and it is a key, right? It is the key to success. The longer you can do it, the greater you become. So, and then Hill Hopper, Pierce Hopper, affirmation of the week is the will to win isn't nearly as important as preparing to win, right? If you're going to be a winner, I grew up on this, 7, 8 years old. This was the first affirmation that I received from my basketball coach back in the day, Coach James Jones. We call him Coach Big Red, after Red Auerbach. And he used to make us say this before we went on the court, before we went to practice. When we left practice, the will to win isn't nearly as important as preparing, right? If you're going to win, you got to prepare to win, right? No preparation, no winning. So that's our affirmation of the week. And since it's February, right, and we want to celebrate Black History Month, right? And so our King Movement, National King Movement Westchester, we're celebrating Black history, not just for the month of February, but we celebrate Black history every single day of the year, 365 days out of the year, just like every other culture, right, that has had an impact on this world or on this society, right? We know other cultures that have done some amazing things, right? From the Jewish culture to the Asian culture to the Hispanic culture to the white culture. There's so many things that people have contributed to the world and to America, and so we choose this month to celebrate Black history. So again, thank you for your support. Right, thank you for your support. Last week we celebrated Black inventors. This week we will celebrate Black athletes and entertainers. Right. So without further ado, we're going to show you a highlight of Marvin Williams Jr., and then we're going to introduce his dad right after this highlight.
That's not what you needed. Here's Williams, and that's your ball game, and a chance for one more.
The Hawks have snaked off about 4 or 5 entry passes tonight. Early in the game, they got a couple, and right there, Marvin Williams, the quick reactions to steal that
rebound. Loose ball, and it ends up in Rose's hands. Blocked by Marvin! Oh, what a block! What a block! Here's Crawford! He's fouled! Oh, count the basket! Count the basket! And it's 76-75. How about this block on MVP? Take it down, Marvin!
Not tonight.
This is one time as Johnson now gives it up. Powell hesitant. Chandler went for the steal. Oh, Williams throws it down.
3 seconds, plenty of time here. Marvin from midcourt. Ball down! How about that? 3 nets. Watch this. 1, 2, 3 red shirts from midcourt. Bottom of the sack.
Wow.
Nice.
Sat out a couple of games with a hip injury. Off the steal. Here's Johnson putting it up. Marvin Williams, who just checked in, fielding the lob from Joe Johnson. They just look younger, quicker.
Great hustle by Josh Harrelson. Rejected by Williams. He averaged about 9.5 per game. And a big jam from
Hayward draws a double. Wide open over the top, and the 3 ball is knocked down by Williams.
Fisher down the middle to Marvin Williams. We believe a hammer, a dunk in your face, mama. What a move by Marvin. He has 4 points. 38-27.
Williams inside. Oh, and the flush right down the middle over Memo.
Yeah, he really turned the corner very quick and then elevates. And boy, look at that. That looks like Dominique Wilkins, doesn't it? Trying to dunk the basketball from that distance.
He's knocked down. He got it back. Cross court to Williams. He backs it up and in. Marvin Williams. So he can't get the shot. Over to Marvin. Marvin down baseline left. Hook her up. Marvin goes. Hooks that separator here. Josh Smith after the hopper of Rizzo. Marvin across the middle. Hook with the right hand. Back to the hip and in. Nice move. That's 13 for Marvin Williams. 86. 10
on the shot clock. McCants. Great tipsy do. Tipped up. There's Marvin Williams. Left-handed. Dean in college basketball. North Carolina takes the title.
And Jim, guys now 3 of the last 4 years from their alma maters have won the national championship. Gary Williams, Boeheim, and now Roy Williams.
Wow. So let me bring to the blueprint Marvin Williams Sr. Marvin, how you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing, Love?
Man, that's what I wanted to see, man. Look at that face, man. Look at that face. That's the face of a proud dad right there.
Oh yeah.
So how you doing, man? You just can't stop cheesing, man. I love it.
I like your show, man. I'm really excited about being on here, and I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, no problem.
Really appreciate it.
And well, I'm thankful to probably my good friend, right, Leah Wilcox. Leah and I go way back, and in terms of our friendship. We've done some things at the Boys and Girls Club here in Mount Vernon, through the NBA, and my connection as a player, and then Commissioner Stern at the time was awesome. Did some things for the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon because we had a number of NBA players come out of Mount Vernon. Gus Williams, Earl Tatum, Rudy Hackett, Scooter and Rodney McRae. My brother Curtis, myself, Ben Gordon, so we've had a bunch of Kevin Jones, and we've had a bunch of players come out of Mount Vernon and play in the NBA, and Leah's always been good. So when Leah recommended, just like E.F. Hutton speaking, did you consider Marvin Williams Sr.? And I was like, if you say so, I'm going to do it. Because you only deal with good people, So I want to get right into this, man. Now we do have some things in common. You're from originally you were born where?
In Brooklyn, New York, Brownsville, on Legion Street and Pickett Avenue.
Okay, yeah, down there. Famous Michael Jordan was born down in there. And,
yeah.
Who is it? Was on Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have family. My grandmother lived in Brooklyn. We used to go down there every weekend when I was a kid. And, so I'm very familiar family there, man. And so I heard that, as you talk to me a little bit about your mom and dad, and and talk about your mom and dad, and then talk about your name, man, because it must have been something going on back then with it,
Yeah. Yeah, my mom and dad come from a little small town called Wallace, North Carolina. They moved they migrated to New York. They had us. My dad's sister, she used to work for the Apollo Theater as a ticket taker. And so when we were little, we used to go see all these shows like The Temptations, Marvin Gaye, all these hot new shows for Motown and stuff at the Apollo Theater. And my mom was pregnant with me when she was at the Apollo Theater watching Marvin Gaye. And so she went into labor at the Apollo. And so they named me Marvin Gaye because that's where that name comes from. Yeah. Yeah.
Marvin Gaye Williams Sr.
Yeah.
Okay. Marvin must have been putting up some stuff that day, man.
Yeah. Them love songs make babies.
Yeah. Oh, man. So it's interesting. We have something. So talk a little bit about your mom and your dad and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about them, man, and their impact. Because, one of the things with the Blueprint, we always focus on the importance and power of family. So we just started with your parents.
Yeah, my mom and dad, they look to me, they had their issues, but they always, especially my dad. My dad was one of those guys. He wasn't very book educated, but he was life educated. So he was constantly always teaching us things about life, what he would call using common sense. My mom, she was one of those people that believe if you think you can do something, then go ahead and do it, no matter what nobody says. You stick to it until you get it done. They never believe in quitting. If you start something, no matter how tough it get, my mom and dad would always flip out if you didn't finish what you started. They didn't care about the outcome. As long as if you start something, you stick to it. And like I said, they had their issues. My mom and dad had some drinking issues. But, I think a lot of that, when I look back on it at my stage of my life, I think a lot of that was they ended up going down roads of their life that they weren't too happy with. I mean, I know for a fact that they love us. I think that's probably the most brightest spot in their lives is having the kids. they were real tough because they grew up in the South, and the 60s and 70s were tough down in the South, and so they instilled a lot of hardcore values in us in terms of working hard. You know what I mean? Don't sit around and ask nobody to give you nothing. If you want it, you gotta go out there and get it.
Yeah, and so you end up having you had siblings. I mean,
it's interesting because I tell people this, and I think people look at me like I'm crazy. My dad had 2 families. He had a total of 19 kids.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like the South.
Yeah. My mom, he had 8 with my mom. Then he had 10 with his first wife, and then when he was in the military, he had 1 in Germany. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that 19. Okay. Where do you fall in?
I'm in that second group. The third oldest in the second group of 8.
Okay. So we have something in common. I was born in Plymouth, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom and dad, when I was 5, moved to Mount Vernon. Okay. Right. So your parents, were in North Carolina, moved to Brooklyn. My parents was in North Carolina and moved to Mount Vernon. And like all Tar Heels.
Right.
I always desired, to spend all my summers. My mom, I used to see my mom in some pictures and on the beaches, and I'm like, when did she do that, man, with us? I noticed we weren't at those beaches and stuff like that. and then I realized that my mom used to ship us off every 4th of July. We go down for 4th of July, and we didn't come back until the summer was over. So I was very accustomed to the lifestyle of living in North Carolina. Yeah. And it kind of made me who I am, coming back to New York, that kind of Southern relaxed, kind of demeanor, yeah, like a quiet, but I was in New York, so that wasn't going to happen. But, I like that space. So talk to me about, your particular situation in regards to, now, growing up and the things that you aspired to do, the things that you dreamt about growing up. And I'm sure, like myself, man, you probably had some aspirations to, play college ball, play professional ball. Talk to me a little bit about that experience from education, your high school education and moving forward.
Yeah, I learned how to play basketball in New York. A friend of mine named Montgomery had those guys had been playing basketball, and I used to hang out with them and watch them until finally one day my friend Montgomery told me, he said, "Hey man, do you want to learn how to play?" So he used to spend time teaching me the game, and then I used to watch the Knicks play when they had Clyde Frazier and Willis Reed and those guys, and so I got more into basketball, and it became like a passion for my love for it. And so I started doing that, and I kept doing it. And then when I got about 13, my grandfather got real ill in North Carolina, so my mom moved us down there. And so when I went down there, it was a little culture shock for me because in New York City, everybody gets along with everybody. It don't matter what race you are. But down in the South in the 70s, like 1972, 1971, it was straight racism, hardcore racism down there. You stayed in your place, and they stayed in theirs. So I had basketball as an avenue to escape. We moved in with my grandma, who had a bunch of people already living with her. And then so it's 6 or 8 of us coming down there living in a probably a 3-bedroom house. So we spent our time during the summers, like you talk about. We spent our summers cropping tobacco when we moved down there. My dream was to always get my mom her own place because at that time it was kind of tough on all of us. And so I used to crop tobacco for this guy, and he told me he had a house that he never done nothing with. And I asked him, I said, "How can I get that house?" So he said, "If you continue to crop tobacco for me all summer, I will let your mom move into the house and rent it." And so I was real cool with his wife and they had a house full of daughters, and they really liked me. So I used to go up to their house to escape from being around in my grandma's house all the time. And so they told me, he let me get the house. Me and my parents, we moved in there. My dad still lived in New York while we was down in the South. He didn't come till much later. So we ended up moving into the house, and I continued to play basketball. And at this point, I started playing in North Carolina. You play on dirt courts, or you play, play in the parks in the concrete. And so the town I lived in was Wallace, and there was a bigger city, what we call the city, which was Wilmington, North Carolina, which is about 45 miles or about a half an hour drive from where we were living. And so I ended up making friends with Kenny Gaddison, who ended up being a 16-year NBA vet himself. I made friends with him. Me and him, he used to come up, or I'll go down to Wilmington and play with him. And then I started connecting with Larry Jordan, playing back through basketball. Then Michael Jordan, who at the time was, when we started playing like 13, 14, Mike was playing baseball. And that's why I find it kind of interesting. People say, oh, well, he wasn't that good at baseball. I said, but the thing is, the real people that know him know that he started as a baseball player. Mm-hmm. Then eventually Larry, his brother, got him involved in basketball as well. And he ended up, getting real good at it. And so I used to spend my summers playing with those guys every day. That's all I look forward to. I go to tobacco fields. I get up at 5:30 in the morning, go to tobacco fields, and get off like 5:36. And Michael Jordan and Larry's grandmother lived in my hometown. So on the weekends, like Friday, they would come up and stay the weekends with their grandparents. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, we'd be at the park playing ball. And so I did that, and I played ball, and I got real good at it. Played ball in high school. Mike got better. Larry got better. And so we started, our high school would play against each other. And so that's how we became friends. And basketball got me, my coach was telling me, hey, man, you good enough. You should go play ball in college. But I wasn't sure at that time because I was 17, 18 years old. I liked basketball and I had a passion for it, but I didn't think I was ready to go to college and play. But with my mom and dad's, household stuff going on, arguing and fighting, I knew I had to get out of there and do something. And so I actually, after graduating from high school, and I had some scholarship offers I didn't take. So I ended up going back to New York. And I lived in New York for about a year and got myself in some trouble. So my dad came and got me and put the whooping on me. And so I had to make a decision. Yeah, he wasn't too happy about that. He beat me all the way back from New York to North Carolina, man. And so I had a friend tell me that you could join the Navy and play basketball and get paid. And all I wanted to do was find a way to make some money for my mom. That was my major concern. And so he told me that. I joined the Navy. I ended up staying in the Navy. I had a 6-year contract. They let me out early because I was really good. They formed a ships team. And the ship team, when we pull in port, we play against, these like Australia. We play against the Australian national team. They would always have a setup so our team could play against some big name guys. And I did very well there. And then I was in San Diego, and we had gotten into this tournament with Michigan State, San Diego State, and those coaches saw me in Arizona State. So Arizona State coach saw me and asked me would I want to come play for him. But I was on the contract, in the military contract, so I had to get out of that. So the military let me out early. So I ended up going. I didn't go to Arizona State because Marvin didn't want to move. So I ended up playing, 2 years of community college ball, then a D1, 2 years of D1. And then I started trying out for the league. And after I was turning 26, I just got tired of trying out. So I just started coaching.
Wow. Yeah. So in the midst of all that, you started to have a family. So talk a little bit about it. Well, let me say this first, right? Because they just don't be giving away scholarships. You got to have some skills.
Yeah.
Somebody to give you a scholarship, man. And particularly my middle brother, he's actually went into the Army, so he played a little basketball in the Army, and he's down. Well, he's still in Fort Bragg, not Fort Bragg, but he's still in Fayetteville, right outside of Fayetteville. So he's still living there. Yeah. So he used to play on the little teams and stuff like that. And of course, Larry Jordan was in the in the gym playing too, then as well. And so you got to be skilled to be able to get scholarships and then be able to get out of the military and go in and do some nice things, and so now it ends up, when does the family start? I mean, when do your career's over or I'm gonna do something, I'm transitioning into something else, or how did it come about?
I was blessed to have Marvin's mom was she's a wonderful lady and one of my best friends to this day. Me and her, you would never know we were married. You think we were sisters and brothers sometimes. she's been so the whole time while she knew I wanted to go play ball, and my son was probably about 2 at the time when I got out the military. So her and her mom decided, look, man, you go ahead and go to college and we'll take care of Marvin while you're trying to fulfill your dream. But I also had a great coach, Dave Sturgeon, who also felt, hey, Marv, I know you ain't got no money because you're going to school, but let me find some work for you to do so that you can have money to take care of your kid. So I was lucky enough to have a bunch of people around me that cared enough about me to make sure that I was okay and I was doing the right things in terms of taking care of my family. So Marvin used to come watch me play because there was a community college right down the street from where his mom was living. So Marvin used to come watch me play while I played community college ball. And his mom constantly, I stayed close to them. I always stayed walking distance from Marvin as he grew up. And so I would see him every day, make sure whenever she needed money, she called me. I would make sure she had money, and my coach would make sure she had money. And so that, that part of the off the court stuff would be taken care of, so I wouldn't have to worry, and I just concentrate on basketball. And so they all worked there. We all worked it out together. Me, like I said, Andrea she's an amazing mom. She did a great job. She couldn't put no pressure on me. She just made sure I was happy as well as my son. And so I ended up playing 2 years of ball there, then going to a 4-year school. In the same process, the coaches made sure that my family was taken care of. I got to see my son. When I moved to Portland, Oregon, they lived in Seattle, which is about 2 hours away. My girlfriend at the time would pick Marvin up and bring him to me on the weekends. And he would come and watch me play while I was playing ball in college. And I did that for 2 years. And then everywhere I went, Andrea just made sure that I got to spend time with my son. She was very wonderful about that. And I was blessed for that to happen.
Yeah, and that's some shows I did earlier when I first started. We were talking about we always know the power of mom.
Yes.
Right. We can't take away mom.
Right.
She's awesome. But there's a very high percentage of absentee fathers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I admire you, and salute you for, staying connected, man, and and being dad. I mean, because that's a tough thing today when I deal with young men at the Boys and Girls Club, and as a coach, we deal with so many young men that maybe don't have one of us around.
Absolutely.
So you not only end up being a coach, but you end up being like a father and a mentor as well. So I commend you for, and so again, I salute you for, staying there. So you end up having Marvin, and then you got 2 other sons.
Yes, Marvin's mom had 2 other kids that weren't biologically mine, but their dads wasn't around. So I tell those are my kids. I raised all 3 of them the same. Even though Marvin was my biological kid, I raised all of them the same. So I not only had to hustle and take care of Marvin, I had to hustle and take care and make sure that those guys got provided for as well.
Again, I mean, I got to commend you. You and mom did a great job. I mean, staying connected and making sure it happens for these 3 young men. I mean, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man.
I was blessed in that regards. I found work study jobs. I would play basketball in college, go on road games, come home. Then I had to go to work at UPS at night while going to school and be back so I can get up for my class at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's how I provided for them guys, to help them, send money home and take care of stuff.
Yeah. Again, this is Lowe's Moore. We're on the Blueprint with Marvin Williams Sr. And this is interactive. So if you have some questions for Marvin, please don't hesitate to put them up on the screen, and we'll make sure he gets those questions. If he chooses to answer them, he answers them. But this is interactive, and so if you got any questions, just jump right on. It'll come up on the screen. Just type it right in, and we'll answer those questions as well. So talk to me a little bit about because you're a Southern guy, so as well as the importance of family, and we know the importance of sports, the importance of faith, and the importance of education.
Yes, so part of growing up in North Carolina was, living with my grandmother was, you went to church. We basically, as a kid, and this is no exaggeration, you probably know this, Lo. You go to church 7 days a week. Other Baptist people go to church 7 days a week. On Monday, Tuesdays, we have Bible study. On Wednesdays, we would go to different churches at night and have revivals. And then on Sundays, I live maybe walking distance from the church that we spent our time in. But once Sunday morning came, you had to get up, pack your lunch, go to church, and you couldn't leave the church. So you ate your food there. You went to Bible study, ate food, and you stayed there till maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so I grew up those values of being a good Christian, being a good person through my grandmother. And so I instilled those values in my boys. I made sure that me and Andrea and her mother was a strong Christian, and she no matter what, we were going to church. And so I always instilled those values in them, and I always constantly, even now when Marvin was, even as a grown man, I constantly I asked him, you read your Bible, you praying and doing things like that. And so I think Christianity and having a foundation of something like that to get you through tough times. Because I mean, the NBA, when he was playing, there was some tough moments, but with God's help, like I told him, you pray and just always do the right thing, and that's what he's always done. And I think all my boys, and I think with me, it helped instill a solid foundation for me as a father trying to teach values to my kids.
Yeah, and education. I mean, I knew because you just don't wake up one day. Say I'm going to play at North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a strong educational background.
Yeah, I was big on that.
When you look at all three of the boys and their education foundation, man. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I was big on that because I used to. Marvin's friends, he had about 4 guys that always hung out with him. They'd come over to the house, stay the night and stuff. And I'll never forget, Marvin used to get so mad at me when he was little. I knew he couldn't read, right? But when he comes stay with me, I would make him breakfast in the morning, and then I would make him sit there. He's probably about 5 or 6 there. And then I would make him sit there and hold the newspaper and pretend like he's reading to me. And he used to get so mad. He said, Dad, I don't know the words. I said, just make it up. Just pretend. But what I was doing was trying to instill the reading habit into him. So, and it worked because now he goes out and buys books. Him and all his friends, they used to see me and say, oh, here come your dad with some books. Yeah. And so all those guys now, they grown men, and those values, they pick up books. They go to bookstores. Marvin will buy a book, and he'll buy 2. He'll say, hey, Dad, I'm reading this. Check it out. And so he'll send me a book. I told him, me and his mom went to college. I went to college, and we both graduated. And so I told the boys, one of the things that education is something that once you get it, no one can take that away from you. And so, and I always remind my kids that there's a lot of Black folks that died so that we could read and do the things we do. And so it's upon you as a person to be responsible to do those things because those people gave their lives so you could read. And so it's important. And then when he went to Carolina, he left early. One of the agreements we had, me, him, Coach Williams' mom, was you got to come back and get your degree. I don't care how much money you're making. Money ain't no good if you ain't got no sense with it, no education with it. So he went back to school every summer, and during the season, I would always check in on him because we talked every day, make sure he was doing his classes online and doing what he's supposed to do. And he fulfilled his obligation. And I think him getting drafted in the NBA was a big moment in our lives. But I really think getting that degree and watching him graduate at Carolina was probably the most amazing thing I've ever experienced besides him being born.
Wow. Yeah. I think we had a picture of him in his graduation outfit there. Yeah.
For that. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. So when did you, when it came to, there it goes right there. Yeah. Those are proud days, man. I got 4 kids.
Awesome.
Right. So, my oldest daughter's a principal, and to see them graduate from high school and college. My other daughter's coaching in Connecticut, and see them graduate, get their masters, and then my oldest son graduate and get his degree. And I still got one here who's working. So yeah, I mean, those are proud moments for mom and dad, for families to see their kids do something that's awesome. Like graduate from high school and graduate from college. I mean, just an awesome thing. When did you know? As you come up. I'm a father. I thought that I had two girls first, and then I had two boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so my youngest daughter ended up playing, high school and college basketball. Before coaching. Of course, you look at your son when I had my son, because me and my wife both played, right? So, I graduated from Mount Vernon with full scholarship to West Virginia University, ended up getting drafted. So, and then my wife, they won the first women's state championship in back in the day in New York, and she ended up going to Fairfield University and graduating. So we have ballers in our family. So the newspaper article says that, hey man, when they have kids, it's gonna be awesome, man. When you have kids, So yeah, it's just an amazing thing to see, that your kid's gonna be doing these things. So I know as a father, you have to be realistic. You're trying to drive them to be successful in the classroom and on the court. When did you know? I think we just had a question come up there.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Huh?
I saw that question too. I think when Marvin chose to answer his question, Marvin chose the University of North Carolina. I think more so, again, divine intervention happened. Marvin chose North Carolina because I think he had North Carolina on his list and Kansas on his list, and I think more so because of Roy Williams. Things fell into place because he had went to his first basketball camp when he was 15, and it was at Kansas. And he was so good at 15 that Coach Williams told him that he couldn't play with the kids. So he had to go play with Danny Manning and the adults at nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so him and Roy Williams hit it off. Roy worked real hard and kept in communication with Marvin while he was at Kansas. And then when the coach of Carolina decided to step down and Roy took it, it made that decision for Marvin to go to Carolina a lot easier. I think he would have ended up at Kansas, to be honest with you. But I think him going to Carolina was wonderful for me because I've always followed Carolina. I knew Coach Smith. He used to come watch me play when I was in high school. When he'd go down there and watch Mike play and Kenny Gaddison play, I like their whole foundation where they stick for each other. Even if you're not a basketball player or you're done playing, those guys still look out for each other in terms of getting jobs, networking, and helping each other out. So I wanted him to be in that kind of environment. I didn't want him to just go to school, just play basketball, and then you get a degree, and then there's no network, there's no help, And so Carolina's always been great at that, and so I was glad he chose that.
Yeah, actually, my brother asked that question, and so he graduated from Auburn High School, and he ended up playing at the University of Nebraska. So every year he played against, Danny Manning and Tisdale and all those guys, man. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma and Kansas teams. My first letter that I received my sophomore year was from Kansas.
Oh, nice.
I carried that letter around like it was made of gold, man. With that little bird on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's awesome, man. And I'm glad he went to North Carolina, man.
I am too.
I always liked North Carolina. I wanted to go to North Carolina. I was a big fan of North Carolina and North Carolina State. Particularly, I grew up in that time, as you know.
Yeah.
They had David Thompson and Marty Towell and those guys, and I had that 42-inch vertical and and I was like, I'm gonna be like David Thompson,
Yeah.
And I ended up I liked North Carolina too, but Phil Ford was there, man. I was like, man, Phil gonna be there a while. It wasn't like people were leaving in 2 years, so
right.
I didn't feel like I wanted to sit behind Phil Ford if I didn't have to. Right. So I ended up going to West Virginia University, and but I wanted to go to North Carolina because all my family was there. I wanted to see my grandmother, my grandfather, all them people come and see me play.
Yeah.
And they didn't get a chance to do that because I went somewhere else. But man, that's awesome. And so when did you, as he's grown up and you taking him through the process of student athlete and he's playing ball, And I'm sure he played other sports too. When did you know basketball was the thing and that he had some skills or potential?
Yeah, he still is a big football fan. Marvin played football in Pee Wees for about, I think, till he was probably about 15. Then at 15, he was probably about 6'5", 6'6". So I had him stop playing football because he was getting really good at basketball. I remember playing him, and I remember playing him in a one-on-one game, and I knew I was quick off the dribble to get to the basket than he was. So I did a move on two dribble drive move, and I thought I got to the basket. For some reason, I picked up my dribble, and on one or two drop steps, he was standing at the basket, and I looked up and I realized, oh my God, look how big this dude is. And so then he had the work ethic where it was always about, Dad, let's go to the gym. Dad, let's go to the gym. Because I wasn't one of them people, because he came to me when he was little and wanted to play, because, he used to sit on the bench while I was coaching girls basketball. And he always asked me, Dad, can you show me this and show me that? So I used to show it to him. But I never believed in pushing my sport on my son, because I don't want him to think or other people to think that I'm living through his dream. I had my dream. I enjoyed my dream, my time. And so I made it clear to him that if you want to play basketball and if you want me to coach you, you need to come to me, and then I'll be glad to take you to the gym. So we started working out, and then when he got about 12 and 15, he grew, and he really, really took to it. And so I used to be in the gym, and I used to watch him. And then I put him on this AAU program, probably one of the best AAU programs in the country, called Seattle Rotary. They put out some major league NBA players. And so Seattle Rotary, my friend Adam took him in, and he was 12. And Adam thought he was really, really good. And so he played with those guys throughout his whole from probably 12 to 17.
Okay. And then, so where were you while he was playing? Was he just out there playing, and you were?
No, I was still living in Seattle. I was still coaching him. I lived in Seattle, and I would coach him. We coach every day. I would coach him one-on-one every day. Whenever then when he go on a road trip, like they go to Vegas, I would fly out to Vegas and watch him play and see how he do. And I think he realized when he was 12, he was getting pretty good, but he ended up running into a fella named LeBron James. LeBron, I think, was 15 or something. So he realized, oh wow, I'm good. This guy's great. And so I think it made him approach the game a little bit more serious. Because at the time in Bremerton, he was the big fish in Little Pond. He was 6'5", 6'6", beating up on all these little kids,
Right.
And so when he saw LeBron and saw how good LeBron was at 15, he knew that he had to, put more work in. And that's what he did.
Right. Yeah. I like that. He put the work in.
Yeah, he put the work in.
Yeah. And when did you know, man? I mean, like in high school, when did you know that? Oh man, this guy's, my son is good.
When he went to a tournament in Vegas, and he played against Dwight Howard. I think Atlanta had a team. It had Josh Smith, Dwight Howard, this other kid who was about 16. Those guys, the smallest dude they had on their roster at that time was a 6'3" freshman point guard, and everybody else is 6'5" and 16 and 6'11. And so he scored like 40 on those guys at this tournament, and he fouled out. And so I knew, and people gave him a standing ovation who was there at the game. And then I knew, he started getting lots and lots of letters, so I knew he was on his way.
Yeah. So what's the other guys doing, man? What did they do as far as their careers and stuff now?
Josh ended up playing in China, and I think his dad. I talked to his dad the other day. He retired. Also, Dwight's still playing. One of the other kids was in the point guard, the 6'3" freshman kid. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He ended up playing for the Washington Wizards and got in trouble. And he ended up in jail. So, and I think the other kid, one of the other 16 kid went to Kentucky. He went to Kentucky, played, and then I think he played in the league maybe 2 years, and that was it.
Yeah. Now your other sons, what did they end up doing in terms of their career?
One son, he didn't like basketball. My middle son didn't like it like that. He was more of an academic. He's currently a manager at a hotel chain in Seattle, Washington. And my baby boy at Marvin at 17 was more gifted than Marvin was. Marvin had to work to get to where he was at. My baby boy was already there. He was gifted, but he didn't really like basketball like that. He just loved playing it like recreational.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got hurt, he after he got hurt, he hurt his I think he tore his Achilles, so he never played since.
Yeah. Well, what is he doing?
Yeah, he's also a manager. He's also a manager at a I think it's a car wash franchise out of Washington. Yeah, he's getting married. I think May. He's getting married in May in Vegas.
Oh, congratulations!
Down there, he got two wonderful kids.
Yeah, my youngest daughter just got in. Yeah, my oldest daughter's already married, and she had a son in June, so he's about 7 months now. And then my youngest daughter just got engaged a few months ago, and she's gonna get married 2022.
Awesome.
You know, yeah. So yeah, man, we kicking it, man.
Yeah.
So talk to me. Why did you do the book, and how did you come up with the title? And I'm sure we talked about some of the things that are in the book already, but maybe there's something in the book that you wanted to put more emphasis on than what we talked about. So talk to me about Secondary Break and why you wrote it.
I wrote the book. It was one of those moments in my life. You know, we had a pastor who passed away. Like he passed away probably about 4 or 5 months before I got the book completed. He had been Bishop Lawrence Robinson. He was the bishop at Emmanuel Apostolic Church in Bremerton, Washington. He was like our Martin Luther King in the community. So he had been on me. He said, "Marv, you've done a lot of good stuff, and you ought to write a book about your life." Because he knew me very well, and I was like, "No, man, I don't have nothing really to write about."
You sound like me.
Yeah. So I was like, "Well, I'll keep that in the back of my mind." Then my other Navy buddy, Darryl Fields, he got on me about it too. They was constantly on me. So one day I was sitting on the back porch at my house here, and I started reflecting on, thinking about my mom and dad, they passed, and I started reflecting on my life, and I started looking back on some of the things that I've gone through as a person. And then I thought, I should just, as a spiritual, just therapy for myself, I just started writing about and remembering things as I grew up when I was growing up as a kid, and I just started writing about it. And before you know it, I had sent it off to a friend of mine, and she said, "Marv, you got a book, man. You ought to write a book." So I started writing a book, and I got a lot of help from my friend Marjorie Wade. She lives in Atlanta. She's got her own publishing company. I got a lot of help from her and encouragement from Bishop, and so I wrote the book. And then my alternative motive, I guess, for the book really was to inspire people, man, because I look at myself and I say, man, if I go through the stuff I went through and I got to where I got through, you can do anything. If you got a dream, you just got to follow that dream no matter where it takes you, and believe in yourself and follow that dream. And then so I wrote the book hoping that people will read it, especially young kids and people with dreams, to see, hey, man, this guy did it. Look what he become. So I'm hoping the book will inspire people. That's really my main goal, inspire people to follow your dreams, man, no matter what they are. No matter how many times, and I've been told so many times, people told me I was crazy, I was living a pipe dream, all kinds of stuff, but I just stuck to it, and this is the life I ended up with.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the title? Like, because somebody, when I mentioned it to somebody the other day, I said, "Yeah, I got, Marvin Williams Senior on. He wrote the book, the Secondary Break." Oh, that's a North Carolina thing, man. That's like Dean Smith, I
got that. It's just a twofold name. It worked out great because when I was coaching the AAU, Roy Williams runs the offense when Marvin was playing. It's called the secondary. They call it the secondary break. If you don't score right away off the inbounds, then you go into your half-court secondary break offense.
Right.
So I thought about that, and then I thought, the Lord has gave me a second break, so why not call it secondary break? So.
Right. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Secondary break. Yeah, that's powerful. So you mentioned the secondary break, because we know we play good defense, we rebound, and the first thing we want to do as a coach or as a team is to get a fast break, get easy, and then you transition into a secondary break, and then into a setup offense. So with that being said, in the title of the book, in terms of, everybody gets that second chance, but Marvin had, has he officially retired?
Yeah, he officially retired. Yeah.
So he was there how long?
15 years. He was in the league 15 years.
Right. and I had mentioned my word of the week was longevity.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been there with him, right?
Every second of the day.
So what has changed from the time that he got drafted and he put on his hat and shook the commissioner's hand? When you look at the game of basketball and his 15 years, I mean, what's the difference in the game then and where the game is now?
Wow. I think a lot has changed. It used to be when Marvin come in the league, it used to be if you was a number 1 pick or a number 2 pick in the draft, they built a team around you. Now them guys, it's more about popularity. Who's the most popular player? It don't matter if you're drafted. They put more pressure now on the 1 and 2 picks and expectations than they did when Marvin and guys came in. And I think too, as far as black coaches go, black coaches, in my personal opinion, get a bad rap because they don't allow them to develop players, and there's not a lot of player development going on now in the NBA, in my opinion. They don't. Back then when Marvin was playing, you had a black coach. He had to win right away, or else he got fired. Whereas now you got coaches who come in who they had no experience coaching, white coaches get jobs, and they're allowed to ride it out 5, 6 years, 7 years until they win. So it's changed in that respect, and I think when Marvin came in, I thought they were going to build a team around him, even though Atlanta had Joe and they had Josh and they had some other good guys. I thought, at that time that he would get, because of, his skill set, he would get more utilized. But unfortunately, in my opinion, it didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, he was extremely talented. I mean, guy could play defense, rebound the basketball, take it to the hole strong, and hit the outside jumper as well. He had all the skills, all the tools.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it's a question of how popular or how powerful that name is.
Yeah.
That's what's driving things. If you got that name,
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to start out with Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And then over into
Utah,
and then back into one of my favorite places. Have family there in Charlotte, North Carolina. My wife, and we was just there about a month ago because her aunt, who was 102, passed away from the COVID virus.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's a place I've always, I was playing with the Albany Patroons in Albany, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And when my career was over, one of the places we talked about moving was to Charlotte.
Okay.
We were actually heading there too. I got a call from my mentor and coach and father figure that there was a position open at the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon as the executive director. And that kind of shifted my whole mindset from North Carolina to, back home. And it was a great move, to be able to have an impact on the lives of kids, and years. And so what is it that, Marvin is, now? Because one of the things I had Ben Gordon, and I have so many friends that we played in the league together, right? One of the hardest things I found out for myself and for my friends and for the young men that I coached that made it to the league and had success, right, is the transition from those applause, right?
Right.
Team, and the transition from that life of being having a basketball career into everyday life. I mean, Marvin seems like, based on what we said earlier, seem to be making a smooth transition. I mean, what is he doing? What is he thinking about doing?
The transition for him was easy because Marv used to constantly tell me, Dad, he said, I'm a basketball player. That's my job. That's not who I am. He said, so, he never liked the spotlight too much anyway. So for him, he was very low key. He's always been about family. So to transition from not playing to being with his daughters was very easy for him. He's been talking. We talked a lot about. He wanted before the pandemic broke out. He wanted to be a part of the NBA Basketball Without Borders. He really loved that program. He's been involved in it for a while. He loved that program, but now he's looking at. He's been offered some jobs, to work out with the players and stuff like that. Charlotte, which I want to say this while I'm on it. Michael Jordan is interesting. Michael has always been in my life. Kenny Gaddison has always been in my life, and Larry has always been in my life. And those guys have always done a good job. Especially when my son first came to the league, and Michael Jordan found out that he was in the league, even when he wasn't playing for Charlotte. Mike reached out to him and told him, if you need anything, you and your dad, let me know. Mike and those guys in Charlotte has always done a great job. When he announced his retirement, they told him if he wanted a job working with their organization, feel free to just reach out to them and he would give him a job. So he had a couple of meetings with the coaching staff, and he just hasn't made up his mind what he wants to do.
Yeah. I mean, pandemic has put a hold on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A little crazy out there. I'm gonna have a good friend of mine. I want to have him pop on there now.
Okay.
Ms. Mike Coleman. We want to have him come on and ask you a few questions here.
No problem.
How you doing?
Hey man, how you?
I'm doing good.
That's Big Mike over there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a funny story before you get started, right? So, Mike's a young guy, about 6'5". So I'm in my 60s, and so we're doing this 3-on-3 fundraising tournament. So I'm playing with another guy who's about 65. I'm about 60. He about 65. I'm about 62, 61, 62. So we said, look, man, we need a dog. And so we said, Mike, Mike playing with us in the gym, man, come on, man, And so he joins us, and we got a little corporate guy on the side who couldn't do very much. But so we're out there balling. Now I'm balling, man. I'm like, call timeout. Like after the second game, man, I'm noticed I'm dominating, I'm carrying the game, right? So me and my man is like, saying to Mike, Mike, you like Gladys, right? And we the Pips, right? We already been Gladys. We want to be Gladys now. We need somebody to carry us, man. I mean, we made it all the way to the championship, but he didn't step up. He wasn't he wasn't Gladys, man. He wasn't Diana Ross, man. But oh man, but Mike has a son, I know, and I see him working him out all the time and stuff. He's in the gym, and I remember when he was real little. Tell him where he is in the pandemic now, But Mike, you got anything for Marvin here, man? You in that process of what Marvin was doing?
Yeah, Marvin. The question for me is, how do you keep your son grounded? Every kid's dream is to play in the NBA. And, as a father, a baller, former baller, well, I'm going to say I'm a life baller. I don't think that once you start playing ball, you would never want to stop playing. That's always the dream, but the body catches up to you. How do you keep your child grounded with looking towards the end goal? The NBA is only a short period of time. How do you keep them focused on achieving, getting yourself together academically, planning for the future so that you can be successful beyond basketball? Because especially minorities, they're always dreaming about the NBA, and you got to prepare for life.
All right, you gotta. One thing I would say as a parent, you got to instill that you're the parent. Your job is always, you got to remind him that your job is to look out for his best interest, no matter what his dreams may be. It's great to dream to be in the NBA, but you have to have him to understand there's more goals in life than being in the NBA. You gotta say, okay, hey son, here's the goal. We need to get you through high school. Be successful in high school first. Once he's successful, not with sports, but just as a person.
Yeah.
You want your son at the end of the day, no matter he become an NBA player or the most successful garbage man, you want him to be a good person. so that he's going to participate in society and be and do something good. So be honest with your kids, no matter how they feel. Your job is to be a father first. Period. They don't have to like you. My son, me and my sons have conversations. I don't care. My job is to be your dad. You got friends over there. Those are your friends, not me.
Yeah.
So my job is to guide him as a father and say, hey man, let's get through high school first. Get your degree because we want to emphasize education first.
Yes.
Basketball can give you the means to get into college for free. Well, me and mom don't have to pay for it. Then we use basketball for that. But don't be in the NBA your life goal.
Yes.
Because you're going to end up, even the ones, honestly, I've been around some NBA players who, even my son's one of those guys, once they got there, they realized, man, this is all it is. It's not what people think it is. What they see on TV ain't what really goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say is be honest with your kid and be straight up and let them know I'm the dad. My job is to look after you, whether you agree with me or not. I want you to get through high school with a good academic grades. And then once you're in high school, if you can get to college, we're going to use basketball as a means for you to get a free education, not as a means to get to the NBA. Now, once you get that step done, he's in college, then he'll be around some good people who will guide him in the direction. If he's good enough to be in the NBA, he'll be in the NBA.
Yes.
Things that teach him, son, the only goal we want to use basketball for is to get you a free education. That's the period. That's how I had Marvin. I said, dude, we just going, if basketball can get you a free education, that's what we're going to use basketball for. Anything other than that, that's extra, then we'll take that on as a blessing and deal with that when it comes. Because I think our black kids, we set our black kids up so much failure, man, because they want to be rappers, they want to be this, they want to be that. Find one good thing, be educated. Our black people need to be educated, be some lawyers, some doctors, some financial advisors, all kinds of stuff we can do.
Absolutely.
But I would say the first goal is to talk to him and make sure and be honest with him. Say, hey man, if we're going to use basketball, let's use basketball to get you a free education. That's the one focus I would keep it on.
Yeah.
Not on NBA. And if in the college, that's when the coaches in college, they'll take care of that for you.
Okay.
When you got anything for grandfathers to tell their grandson?
Hey, I get in trouble every day with my son.
I started with the sneakers.
So I just got threatened. I will get my granddaddy privilege taken away because I do too much.
This is Dakota right here.
Oh, hey.
What?
I just saw. Hey, look how pretty he is. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's handsome.
Yeah, I say thank you. He looking like okay.
Yeah. Oh,
let's go.
Nice.
See you later. Anything else, Mike?
I definitely reach out because my son wants to go to UNC as well.
Okay. Yeah, hey man,
stay in touch.
No problem. And if I'm on Instagram. If you need to get a hold of me, I'm at Marvin Senior 01. Or Lowe's has my number. Feel free.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna hit Lowe's up after this and make sure we have that connection because his dream is to go there. So we want to get down there and let him visit it.
Yeah.
And, see what's going on. And we've been talking about moving down to North Carolina. So
nice.
A little closer to it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Y'all should take a trip down. It's a beautiful campus, man. That's what I did with Marvin too. I took Marvin down there before he was on the radar. I took him down there to the school, introduced him to the coaching staff, let them know who he was and what he was doing, and then they started following him. So that's a good way of getting him on the radar.
Okay, that sounds good. We might see you this summer.
Okay, I'll be around. You just hit me up, man.
All right, Mike. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Yeah. So what are you trying to do? I mean, because I think I should be asking myself the same question, since I retired and I'm doing the podcast. What are you trying to accomplish, like with the whole book and what are you doing now? What do you want to do in terms of what are you planning to do?
I would love to. I know my end goal was to do speaking engagements, but I know the pandemic has put a hold on that. So what I'm trying to do now is try to get on this podcast and many shows as I can to get the book out there so that I can speak to kids and do things, whether it be through Zoom or whatever it can be, so that I can be a positive influence on them. That's my long-term goal.
Yeah. Same here too. I'd like to before I started the podcast when I did my vision plan back in September 2020.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't know I was going to be retiring, but I had created a vision plan. Like I tried to create a blueprint, about what my future looked like. I didn't know if I wanted to go all the way to 65, in a career that as an executive director, because I had some other things that I had experienced so much stuff that I thought that I could help, youth development, sports. I mean, just an array of things that I had picked up over the years that I thought I could share,
Right.
with young people, high school, college, corporations, whoever would want to listen. So, but when the pandemic hit, I wanted to get out there to speak professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the pandemic hit, and the only thing I had at the bottom of my list of my vision plan was podcast, which I didn't know anything about. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any alternative but to do. That was the only thing on the list I could do because you couldn't go anywhere.
Right. I'm proud of you for doing that, though. I like that. Yeah, you did. You picked a good one. You do that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And then, one of the reasons that I was talking to some friends, a number of my friends, I was talking to them about it. Some guys were out doing speaking and stuff like that. So I started learning some stuff about, speaking and some marketing, some branding. And, I was about to, kind of do this launch, like let's go out and speak, and the pandemic hit. I was like, okay. So, so now I think about it, I still, that's something I want to do is I think it's an opportunity for us to look at this two ways when it comes to speaking, right? And this is the same thing that's happened for businesses, right? Because I don't know if you could see around if they go back to the both of us, right? If they take the picture back to the both of us, you see around it, it says the lifestyle 7 spheres of influence. That's kind of how I started with.
Yeah.
Right? And that we all have giftings, right? We all born with gifts, right? And some of them you'll see religion. Some of us are going to go into religion. Some of us are going to go into education. Some of us are going to go into government and law. Some of us are going to go into media. Some of us will be in sports, arts, and entertainment. Some will be in business and finances. So it's the big thing is finding what your sphere of influence is.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And what it is you're skilled or whatever that gift that God has given you, and how do I impact it? Like I felt like as a player, I impacted the sphere of sports when I played.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I want to impact that from the spiritual side of it as well as the business side of it as well.
Right.
So it's learning this whole business side of the blueprint, the podcast, to get out to speak. So yeah, man, I encourage you, man, to, and I mean, maybe we pick each other's brains.
Yeah.
About how do we take our next step,
Yeah.
In doing the thing that we love to do, which is to help people.
Exactly. Yeah, I love to sit down and chat with you, which I think I probably will do when we sit down after this podcast and just talk a little bit about how we can probably navigate this whole thing and we both get to do what we want to do. Because I'm with you. My goal now at this stage, it's always been, that's why I went into coaching my AAU program. I love seeing, it's like planting a flower and you nurture it till it blooms. And that bloom part is the most exciting part.
Yeah. And so, we got a few more minutes, but I got a couple of outside of your family, right? Outside of your family, who was most inspirational and an influencer to you outside of a family member? Family members always tell us stuff, but there's always somebody that, comes in our life that's not in our family and they encourage us and help us move forward.
My son's grandmother, Barbara Phillips. My son's grandmother has been one of the huge. She's like my mom. My mom passed away And she stepped right in the role as being my mom. So she would probably be my major influence. Marvin's grandmother, Miss Barbara Phillips. She, without her and her love and support, and her daughter love and support, I don't think, truthfully, I don't think I'll be it's those guys that made me the person I am today. They helped me become a good father. They helped me become a good person. You know, they encouraged me throughout whatever. If I say I want to go to the moon, those guys say, yeah, I know you'll figure it out. Just let us know what we need to do. So his mom, Marvin's mom, and his grandmother, probably my biggest influence in my life.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there something inside the book that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I talk about in the book. I talk about, I had some racial issues going on when I was living in Seattle. Wasn't a lot. I ended up getting stopped by the police and accused of drunk driving, which I wasn't. Then I ended up getting in a fight, and those guys beat me up and put me in jail cell. I ended up suing them, and they settled out of court, but they would never admit wrongdoing. I talk about those issues. I talk about the issues about growing up in New York City during the Black Panther era and stuff like that. So, I mean, the book relates to, if you read the book, it'll talk about some issues that I had that we are still having today in our society with Blacks.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the other thing about there's the misconception of the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
As a militant group.
Right.
Rather than a group that was created for community protection.
That's right.
And community support.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said in my book. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I think in my book.
Yeah, and I mean, and they got labeled, during a critical time in regards to the life of Black people in America. There was no real, besides the church.
Right.
And then there was the civil rights movement.
Yep.
And then you had these young people that said, look, hey, man, we need to do more. Right. And then I guess you had the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And then you had the Black Panthers. And I didn't know what it meant because I was real young at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there were a number of guys that I looked up to at the Boys Club at that time before it became a Boys and Girls Club. And some of my friends would say they played on the high school basketball team, but they were still a part of the Black Panther movement in New York, and which was my first introduction to the Black Panthers, and understanding that they were fighting for the rights of Black people at that time.
Yes. I really appreciate it because they done. When I was growing up as a kid, they started the summer free lunch program.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many kids that I grew up with, and I talk about in my book. One of the kids who lived with his uncle and didn't have a mom or dad around, and that free lunch program basically saved his life because his uncle was in, he was in gangs and he was always gone all the time, and he left that kid there a lot of times by himself. So with the free lunch program during the summer, you can go down the street to your local school and get food. So I really appreciate all of what the Black Panthers done. I think you're right. They get labeled as militants when they weren't. They were really sticking up for Black people and equal rights.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, just misunderstood, really. And I when we're talking about we're in this, in terms of celebrating Black history, I met one of the gentlemen, I think it was Tommy Smith. We took pictures maybe about a couple of years ago. And I mean, that was one of the highlights of, my life. I mean, when you grow up in America and, these guys, standing up the whole Black Power,
Yeah.
And, you've read about that, you've seen that, and then you've seen the guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And what that was like. And then hearing the stories of one of the guys who grew up in Mount Vernon was Ralph Brinker. right? There was John Brinker and Ralph Brinker, and John Brinker Jr. ended up being my agent coming out of college, and his father was a commissioner of recreation, and then their uncle was Ralph Brinker, who played with Jackie Robinson.
Wow.
Yeah, and Mr. Brinker was the pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he used to come to the boys club and talk about his, because him and Jackie was like best friends.
Yeah.
And he used to talk about that experience being with Jackie, that whole experience when Jackie was with the Brooklyn Dodgers,
Wow.
And I know if you've seen 42, he was the one that said, "You're not gonna shower with us, Jackie." He.
Okay.
Yeah, that was him. That's Ralph Brinker.
Okay.
They, so when you hear about the relationships and the stories, back then, just powerful, man. And that how now today, there's a, one day where nobody can ever wear, after Mariano Rivera, after he retired, he was the last person to wear the number 42.
Right.
And then every year, there's a Jackie Robinson Day where everybody is uniform with the number 42.
Yeah.
And then, when you look at Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
And I was watching, I don't know if you've seen it yet, was the One Night in Miami. And when you look at guys who had to be more like Jim Brown,
yeah,
Muhammad Ali, and Malcolm X, and also Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
How those guys had a relationship, and how the things that they were dealing with, trying to be powerful in their sphere of influence.
Right. Yeah.
Malcolm with religion, Sam Cooke with the music and entertainment, Jim Brown in football,
yeah,
and then Muhammad Ali in boxing. So, when you grow up, those legends,
mm-hmm.
Who, and then, athletes today, who come up to take that stand, at the risk and at the cost of,
yeah,
because those guys could have made crazy money. I mean, back then, if they would just stay straight,
yes,
what people wanted, they probably would have been multi-millionaires
easily. Yeah.
But to take stands, the courage to take a stand, as many, and proud to see so many of our athletes today doing that.
Yeah.
During this pandemic, during this issues of social justice and stuff like that. It's very encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just telling a gentleman the other day when I did an interview, I'm proud of our young kids today. Seeing them stand up for injustice and say, "Hey man, enough's enough. This is not how we want our future to be." It made me so proud, because at one point I was worried about that next generation. Would somebody, or would some of them step up and do anything, or would they just let it continue on? And I'm proud of the voting, the people that got out and vote, and the young kids that mobilized people to get out and vote. I'm really proud of the young kids today.
Yeah, and also, they're, we just can't. We're very powerful in what would happen over this year.
Yeah,
but also, man, there are other cultures that join forces. I mean, I always say, it's all of America that,
yeah,
when you join forces, you become very powerful when cultures come together.
Yeah.
And I can attest, I've had so many wonderful friends from so many different cultures that I've had those powerful relationships with over the years. My roommate or teammate, from West Virginia, I don't know that I made it into the Hall of Fame, right? But I don't know that I would have made it into the Hall of Fame without him.
Right.
And he didn't have to stand up for me, but he did, and God rest his soul. But Yeah, we could just be so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We just gotta keep pushing through, man, and don't just because people want us to settle, we shouldn't settle. We know that there's more. That's like what we talk about, me and you, with winning. We always keep pushing through till we win. So, and that's what we got to do in our society. Keep pushing through. It's going to be a breakthrough. And you eventually going to get to your end goal.
Yeah, definitely. So, we're in this last 5 minutes. The will to win is not nearly as important as preparing to win. We in our last 5 minutes. That's my motto. That's my life motto.
I love it.
Right. Yeah. And it was something that actually Bill Russell said back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. And that my coach gave to us. And, I think about that if I want to win at something, right, I got to prepare for it.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's the same thing. And the reason why, Denzel's wife, Denzel did the forward in my book. Denzel and his wife did the forward in my book. And, he said I was like this pebble you throw in a pond and this ripple effect.
Awesome.
And then his wife said, man, this is like a blueprint. Right. I mean, people should take a look at this. And so before you can build a building, you got to have a vision.
Right.
You got to have a plan. You got to come up with a blueprint.
Yep.
And you got to write stuff down. You got to take pictures of it. Or I say to people, they need to be developing while we're in this pandemic. They need to be developing their vision board.
Right.
Right. And don't sit idly by. Right. Because everything starts with preparation.
That's it.
If you're going to win.
That's it. And you prepare every day.
That's right.
We get 24 hours in this day, man, to spend time in. Because success, also that part of success is you got to become obsessive with what you really want. And it's got to be something that's all you think about 24 hours a day. Get yourself ready. When the opportunity comes, then you know it.
So in our last few minutes here, I always ask this question, and when I can get to it, if you had to say something to a young person, if you had to give a message to a young person, what would that message be? That young people, what message would you give them?
One message I'll probably give young kids today is you gotta always do the right thing. That's the major thing in life that we don't tell our kids enough. When you make a decision to do anything, please make sure you're doing the right thing. And if you feel like it's not the right thing, don't make that decision. So I think always focus your life on doing the right thing.
Yeah. And that's true, man. Hey, you always do the right thing, man. So when the last time you picked up a ball?
Man, I hurt my knee a few years back. And so I've been wanting to get back out there, but I'm scared that something might happen to my other knee. And then I sit here and listen to you. You don't look like you're in your 60s, man. I'm just telling you, boy. You check yourself. I like that. So now you got me inspired. Maybe I might go and get myself back in shape, even if I just go out there and shoot around for a little while. I still love the game. It's always in my heart. And you know how you pick up a basketball and touch and you just get that feel. You get that feeling in your spirit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was playing. I went to play in the 60 and over tournament like a few years. Yeah. And I balled out, right? And I was like, man, when I get back home, man, I got to play. I was in Jacksonville, Florida. When I get off the plane, man, I'm gonna be balling every other day. I got back home, no desire to play, right? Then when I finally went to the gym, my knees was hurting so bad. I said, I think it's time for me to give this up because I can't go through this pain. It took me hours just to get loose.
Yeah.
And so then I remember when I used to work out in the pool. So I started swimming.
Okay.
And it took all the pain away.
Oh, nice.
And so it allowed me to play once a week. I swim 3 or 4 times a week and then I go play. Right. I started with swimming, but because of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I ain't going swimming. I ain't going to nobody's gym,
Right.
So I started walking.
Okay.
So I walk every other day, to get back in shape, just in case when this is over, they let me in the gym, I'll see what I have,
Good for you. Yeah, you inspired me, man. I have to go back out and get my mind right. My son was getting on me the other day about. He said, "Man, at least go out and shoot." He said, "I know you love to play." So I said, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Well, anyway, we at that time, man. I got about a minute to go. Marvin, I wanna say thank you, man. I enjoyed this, man, and I wish you much success, man. God bless you, man. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely, I definitely want to do that.
Let's stay in touch. Next week, my wife and I we're doing this special Valentine's Day on the BluePrint, where we're going to talk about love and how 37 years of being married. We got something to talk about.
Wow, that's amazing! Congratulations.
So we're gonna invite a couple other couples on as well, talk about stuff on Valentine's Day, talk about love, and then we have I think it's Camilla Banks.
Okay.
Camilla Banks Lee, and she's a therapist, and so we want to address her life and experience, and we want to talk about some mental health issues.
Yeah, that's good. We need that.
Yeah, we'll talk about some mental health issues, and then we have Butch Reynolds, former 400. He ran the 400.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're going to have him on after that, and he's going to talk about his career. And Butch Reynolds, a world record holder and gold medalist. So again, Marvin, thank you, man. God bless you, man. And let's stay in touch.
Thank
you, everyone, for your support of the BluePrint podcast. Love you guys, man. It's snowing up here like crazy. I got to get out here and do some shoveling.
Okay.
Before the Super Bowl comes on. Who you got, Marvin? Who you got?
I'm with you. I like the old guy. I'm gonna go with Tampa.
Okay, so yeah. 2 old guys got Tampa.
Yeah.
So God bless you and enjoy the rest of the week.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the BluePrint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.